Canada's biggest World Cup night turned from celebration into shock. A 6-0 win. A historic first World Cup victory. A stadium in Vancouver exploding with noise. But by full time, the scoreline was not the only story. Because in the middle of Canada's dominant win over Qatar, the match was stopped after a frightening injury to midfielder Ismael Kone, an incident so serious that ITV refused to show the replay. Players froze, medics rushed on. The benches erupted, and one Qatar player left the pitch in tears. This was supposed to be Canada's statement night. Instead, it became one of the most emotional and chaotic moments of the World Cup so far. Canada came into this Group B clash knowing exactly what was at stake. As co-hosts of the 2026 World Cup, they were chasing a result that could push them close to the knockout stages, and from the opening moments, Jesse Marsch's side looked determined to make history. The breakthrough came through Sile Laren, who finished from close range to put Canada on course for a huge night in front of their home crowd. From there, the pressure kept building. Jonathan David struck twice, giving Canada clear daylight, while Qatar's problems grew even worse when Homam El Amin was dismissed. At that point, Canada were in total control. The crowd was roaring, the team was flying, and Qatar were struggling to stay in the game. But then, everything changed. Ismael Kone, the former Watford midfielder now with Sassuolo, went down after a dangerous challenge from Qatar's Assim Madibo. Immediately, the mood inside the stadium shifted. This was not a normal stoppage. Players from both teams looked visibly distressed. Canada's players reacted with anger. Qatar's players looked shaken. And when medical staff rushed onto the pitch, it became clear this was a serious situation. ITV chose not to show replays of the challenge, a decision that told viewers just how disturbing the injury appeared to be. On commentary, Andros Townsend summed up the moment with just a few words. I'm lost for words, to be honest. Madibo was shown a red card for the tackle, and as he left the pitch, he was in tears. But Canada were furious. Jesse Marsch and the Canadian bench reacted strongly to the challenge, and tempers exploded. A fight broke out between the benches as emotions spilled over, turning an already tense match into chaos. The game had been stopped. Kone was being treated. The benches were clashing. And suddenly, Canada's historic night had become about something much bigger than football. After a long delay, Kone was finally stretchered off. But even in that painful moment, he managed to wave to the crowd a gesture that brought applause from around the stadium. According to the report, Kone was stabilized in the dressing room before being taken to hospital for further tests. For Canada, it was a serious blow. They still had a match to finish. They still had history to make. But one of their teammates had just been carried away after a frightening injury. And somehow, they had to keep playing. Nathan Saliba was the player sent on to replace Kone. And what happened next became one of the most emotional moments of the night. With Qatar reduced to 9 men after Madibo's sending off, Saliba stepped up and scored a stunning free kick. But his celebration was not about himself. He held Ismael Kone's shirt high in the air, a touching tribute to his injured teammate. It was a powerful image. Canada scoring again, the stadium erupting, and Kone's shirt lifted above the noise. The goals kept coming. Mohamed Manai turned Jacob Schaffelberg's shot into his own net in a comical own goal. Then Jonathan David completed his hat-trick in stoppage time, sealing a 6-0 victory and sparking wild celebrations across Vancouver. Canada had done it. Their first ever World Cup win. A massive 6-goal statement. A result that puts them within touching distance of the knockout stages. But even after the final whistle, the drama was not over. Another scuffle broke out, showing just how heated the night had become after the incident involving Kone. The match ended with Canada celebrating history and worrying about one of their own. For Qatar, the situation is now critical. After this heavy defeat, they will need to beat Bosnia and Herzegovina to have any chance of reaching the knockout stages. For Canada, the picture is very different. They have momentum, they have goals, they have a team that just delivered a landmark World Cup victory on home soil. But ahead of their final group match against Switzerland, who beat Bosnia and Herzegovina 4-1 earlier, the biggest question is not just about qualification. It is about Ismael Kone. Canada won 6-0. They made history. Jonathan David scored a hat-trick. Nathan Saliba delivered a tribute that fans will not forget. But the night will be remembered. For the moment the game stopped, the replays disappeared, the benches erupted, and an entire stadium held its breath. Canada are closer to the knockouts, but their World Cup dream now carries a painful question. How serious is Ismael Kone's injury and what happens next?